You know that feeling when you stumble upon a sprawling story, maybe a dense history or a complex fantasy world, and your brain just starts to feel full?
Yeah, like you're trying to drink from a fire hose of information.
Exactly. We get it. That's precisely what the deep dive is here for. You give us your sources, and we extract the core insights, the real nuggets of understanding, so you can feel truly informed without the overwhelm.
Right. And today, we have a particularly rich source, thanks to one of you who shared excerpts from the Norika Cycle book One Raven's Trial.
Okay.
Now, this isn't a straightforward historical account. It's a work of fiction.
Mm-hmm.
However, it draws deeply from the wellspring of great Indian epics like the Ramayana.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, we're exploring timeless human themes through a brand new and, well, fascinating lens.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our mission in this deep dive is to really get to grips with the foundational elements laid out in these excerpts.
Right.
We want to understand the key conflicts that are starting to, bubble up, the characters who are going to be shaping this story, and the intricate world the author has crafted.
Think of us as your guides.
Exactly. We'll point out the important landmarks without getting lost in every single side path. So, are you ready? We're diving into a world of gods, demons, and brewing rebellion.
Let's do it. Let's begin by looking at how the author introduces some of the early tensions and the characters who embody them.
Okay.
The excerpts give us a look into the world of the divas through Indra's experience. What struck you most about that initial portrayal?
Well, that phrase, hunger of the eyes, really resonated with me. Here's Indra surrounded by all this opulence, watching these beautiful Apsara dancers.
Yeah.
And yet he's consumed by this never-ending desire for more, for the next beautiful thing. It paints a picture of a society that has everything, perhaps, to excess. It makes you wonder if that kind of insatiable desire could actually be a weakness, or perhaps hint at a certain emptiness beneath all the grandeur. What do you think?
That's a really insightful question. Indra's hunger of the eyes certainly establishes a powerful motif of desire within the Devan culture. It makes you consider the potential consequences of, unchecked sensory indulgence.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it also creates a stark contrast with the later depiction of the Narakans, who are struggling for basic necessities.
Right.
This disparity in their fundamental needs really underscores the power dynamic between these groups, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Following this, we encounter a very different kind of interaction between Namissa and Tungvura. What did that exchange reveal to you?
This scene felt so much more grounded and immediately threw a spotlight on the social fault lines in this world.
Okay.
Namissa, a servant, is trying to deliver a message, supposedly from Emperor Indra himself, but this overseer, Tungvura, just dismisses her with this incredibly prejudiced remark about a bloody Rakshasan wench.
Yeah, it's harsh.
It's a really jarring moment that highlights the deep-seated disdain some Divyas seem to have for the Narrakans. The fact that Tungvura doesn't even bother to check the validity of the message speaks volumes
Exactly.
about how little value they place on Narakan lives or even information coming from them. It makes you wonder how often crucial information might be ignored simply because of who is delivering it.
Precisely. This brief exchange, though seemingly small, is incredibly effective in establishing the social hierarchy and the ingrained prejudice that permeates this world.
Yeah.
The overseer's casual bigotry really foreshadows the potential for systemic injustice and mistreatment that could be a central driving force in the narrative.
Okay, makes sense.
Now let's turn our attention to Ravan and his experiences in the Forbidden Aranya, the jungle. What were the key elements that stood out to you from those sections?
Rawan's journey into the Aranya felt like stepping into a realm of immediate peril and also sort of forbidden knowledge. That Devon sign, the lightning bolt on the shala tree, acts as this very clear warning, a boundary that Narrakans are not meant to cross.
Right, keep out.
And the text really emphasizes the multifaceted dangers of this place. It's not just the natural predators like Rakshasas and Nagas, but also the technologically and magically superior Devon warriors.
They're hellbirds, longbows.
Yeah, and Brahmaic magic. It paints them as a formidable occupying force. It really highlights the power imbalance in a very tangible way.
And what's fascinating here is how the author layers the dangers. The jungle itself is inherently hostile, but then you have this added layer of threat from the Devas.
Totally.
Rasha 1 is clearly skilled in survival within Naraka, but the introduction of Devon power significantly raises the stakes for him. We also see an internal struggle playing out within him in this environment, don't we?
Absolutely. He's caught between this primal need to survive, I must survive, is a recurring thought, and this growing sense of responsibility towards the enslaved people he encounters. We get glimpses of his resourcefulness, his camouflage shelter.
Yeah.
Using thunbergia vines shows he's adept at his surroundings.
He knows the jungle.
But then we learn that it's not just Dasuras who are being oppressed. The Devas are also exploiting the Kineras, these horse-Narakan hybrids from the steppes and deserts.
Ah, right. That broadens things.
It really does. It broadens the scope of Devon domination and suggests a more widespread system of subjugation. And the motivation behind it all seems to be very material.
Yeah.
The Devas are in Naraka for the minerals and metals. It gives a very concrete reason for the conflict, beyond just abstract power struggle.
That's a crucial point to consider. The inclusion of the Kinars expands our understanding of Devon control beyond a single group, suggesting a more systematic exploitation of various Narakan peoples.
Okay.
And grounding the conflict in the acquisition of resources gives it a very tangible and, well, historically resonant dimension, doesn't it?
It does.
Following this, we see Ravan in a direct confrontation with the Devas as he tries to escape. What were the pivotal details of his flight?
It was a classic high-stakes chase, really underscoring that power imbalance again. Ravan, with just his bow and arrow, is being pursued by dozens of Devas.
Overwhelming odds.
Totally. His internal thoughts really convey that. But even while fleeing, he's incredibly observant.
Oh, yeah.
He takes in the fortifications of the Devon mine, the ironwood stakes, the watchtowers, the guards. It paints a picture of a massive and heavily defended operation.
Right. Serious business.
And then we see his ingenuity in trying to throw off his pursuers by masking his scent using his pack and an incantation against a teak tree.
Ah, the scent masking. Interesting.
Yeah, he's using every skill and bit of knowledge he has just to stay one step ahead.
His resourcefulness in that moment is really telling.
Yeah.
The scent masking technique suggests a fascinating blend of practical survival skills and perhaps a touch of local magic or, ritual. And the detailed description of the mine's defenses really emphasizes the extent of Devon control and the immense challenge anyone would face in trying to liberate those enslaved within.
A huge challenge.
The excerpts also hint at another layer of Devon security in the area, didn't they?
Yes, the use of venomous pit vipers as sentries.
Oof. Nasty.
It's a particularly cruel tactic, creating this natural barrier that's difficult to overcome. But this also serves to highlight Rawan's extensive training, as he manages to evade them successfully.
Right, he credits his training.
He even offers a silent acknowledgement to his teachers for preparing him for such dangers. It suggests a very rigorous and practical education focused on survival in a hostile world.
Makes you wonder what kind of knowledge is valued and passed down in Narakan society.
Exactly.
That near miss with the Devas sets the stage for another significant and very personal trial for Ra. One, his encounter with the Simmer.
Ah, yes, the Simmer.
This feels like a major test of his abilities. What unfolded during that confrontation?
This was a brutal and visceral fight. The Simmer is described as this enormous creature, and even after Rawan manages to defeat it, he's left in a terrible state. Limbs quivered beneath him, and he stumbled.
Exhausted and wounded.
Yeah, wounded, exhausted, and desperately needs basic resources like water, fire, and a needle, all things his teacher had foresight to prepare him for.
So that training pays off again.
It really reinforces this idea of his journey being a series of trials that he has been trained somehow to face.
And his ordeal in the Aranya doesn't end with the fall of the Simmer, does it? There are further challenges he has to overcome.
Not at all. He sustains a serious wound on his back that's at risk of infection. He uses poisonous mulberry sap as a form of protection.
Useful again.
And then has to navigate through this incredibly painful terrain of cycad thorns. It really underscores the unforgiving nature of his environment and his sheer resilience in pushing through such adversity.
Intense.
But then, in the aftermath of this intense fight, there's this unexpected encounter with the baby Simmer. What did you make of that moment?
That encounter felt like a significant turning point, maybe, in how the author portrays Rawan's character. What did you observe in his interaction with the baby Simmer?
Just after this fierce and deadly battle with the mother, Rawan comes across this vulnerable baby.
Right.
And despite being injured and exhausted himself, he shows the surprising amount of compassion. He doesn't harm the chick, even when it reacts defensively. He even coos at it, comparing it to the palace cats. This display of empathy, immediately after such a brutal act of survival, reveals a depth to his character that goes beyond just being a hardened warrior.
A softer side, maybe.
Yeah, it suggests a capacity for mercy and perhaps a connection to the natural world that we hadn't seen as clearly before.
It certainly adds a layer of complexity to his character. It makes you wonder if this compassion might play a significant role in his future actions and his interactions with others.
Could be.
Following this encounter, the excerpts detail Rawan's rather intense self-healing process. What did you learn about him through this?
This was a pretty vivid and crucial section. He finds a stream, manages to create fire, boils water, demonstrating fundamental survival skills.
Basic survival, yeah.
But then he takes this incredibly difficult step of actually restitching his own deep wound using a heated needle and linen thread.
Wow. That takes grit.
Doesn't it? He then applies sacred ash, vibhuti, and even uses a spell to ward off insects. It highlights his remarkable self-reliance, his determination to survive against all odds.
And that blend again.
And again, this interesting blend of practical knowledge and perhaps spiritual or magical practices. It really makes you appreciate the level of training and mental fortitude he possesses.
The fact that he undertakes such a painful and demanding task himself really underscores his unwavering commitment to returning.
Definitely.
We also get a glimpse into his internal thoughts and concerns during this period of recovery.
Yes, he's grappling with the potential repercussions of his actions, whether the divas are still hunting him, if they know who he is, and if his actions will bring harm.
Understandable worries.
He also makes a conscious decision to keep the existence of the mine a secret for now. And then there's this small but significant moment where he gives the baby Simurgh a name.
Yes.
It's another subtle indication of his connection to the creatures of Naraka. It makes you wonder about his relationship with the world around him.
His return to Lanka elicits a powerful reaction, particularly from Sorpan. What did you glean from their reunion?
Sorpan is clearly in a state of intense worry, desperately searching for Rawan. She's even armed and prepared to venture into the Aranya herself.
Wow, okay.
The reunion is charged with emotion. Sorpan's relief and anguish are palpable. But then Rawan's reaction is quite unexpected.
How so?
Despite enduring what he calls hell, his overwhelming response upon returning is this almost hysterical laughter when he discovers that his sister, his sweet, sweet Anuja, is missing.
Laughter? That's odd.
It's a really striking and somewhat unsettling moment, highlighting the depth of his concern for her, perhaps even more so than the trials he himself just faced.
It's a fascinatingly complex emotional response. It's almost as if the relief of returning cracks under the weight of this new worry for his sister.
Yeah, maybe.
This immediately shifts the focus and establishes a new driving force in the narrative, the urgent need to find his missing sister.
Right.
The excerpts then give us a glimpse into Sorpan and Harsha's own predicament. What were they involved in?
While Rawan was battling creatures and healing himself, Sorpan and Harsha were engaged in their own risky endeavor, an escape attempt from the palace.
Okay, trying to get out.
Their goal is the Mukuta Mandir, the crown temple. And in a rather unexpected and slightly humorous turn of events, they actually receive unwitting assistance from a guard described as the most incompetent of father's guards, Himantha Kumara.
That's kind of funny.
It injects a bit of levity into what is otherwise a tense situation. It makes you wonder if this incompetence might have larger implications down the line.
Could be. This hint, we see him in a weakened state, both physically and emotionally. What were your key observations?
Even though he's made this incredible journey back, Rawan is clearly depleted. He feels numb, and the world around him seems unsteady.
Understandably.
He even has to offer a prayer to Shiva for strength. But even in this vulnerable state, there's this subtle hint of a deeper power. Ramaggering the wind reacts to his prayer.
Ooh, interesting. Magic.
Maybe. And of course, his primary concern remains the whereabouts of his missing sister and his mother's reaction to his return. It underscores the importance of family bonds in this narrative.
This vulnerability, after enduring so much, makes him a more relatable and perhaps even more compelling hero.
I think so.
The subtle magical influence further suggests that there are layers to his abilities that we are only beginning to see. The narrative then shifts to Rawan's interaction with a group known as the Underground.
Right, the Underground.
Who are they and what role do they play in this world?
The Underground is presented as this clandestine network of resistance fighters, the last free fighters of Naraka.
Right.
They're a diverse group comprising members from various Narakan races, including Urnaya Sunwar, Avidyuthara, Vigyujiva, a Rakshasa, and Sarama, a Naga.
A mixed group.
Yeah. They are united in their refusal to acknowledge Indra's peace and the accords established with the Devas. This paints a picture of a fragmented political landscape where not all Narrakans are willing to submit to Devan rule, suggesting ongoing tensions beneath the surface.
The fact that the underground is composed of different Narakan races is significant. It suggests the potential for unity against a common oppressor, even among groups who may have had their own historical conflicts, such as the Asuras and the Nagas.
That's true.
What is Rawan's objective in seeking out this group?
His primary aim is to enlist their help in rescuing Sorpan.
Makes sense. He needs allies.
Urnaya, in particular, displays a fierce determination to assist him. Rawan has to negotiate for their support, offering them resources like arms and food, as well as access to the Devon mine.
The mine discovery becomes leverage.
Exactly. It's a strategic alliance born out of necessity, but it also hints at a shared desire for liberation and a common cause that might bridge historical divides.
This alliance with the underground marks a significant escalation of the conflict. It moves beyond individual struggles for survival and suggests a larger, more organized rebellion beginning to take shape.
Yeah, things are heating up.
To understand what fuels this resistance, the excerpts then delve into the brutal realities faced by Sorpan and Harsha as slaves in the Devon mine. What did you learn about their experiences there?
Oh, life in the mine is depicted as utterly horrific, relentless, back-breaking labor under the constant threat of cruel overseers like Hahandi.
Just brutal conditions.
Serpan, even in her enslaved state, takes on the role of a healer, offering what comfort she can to others like Jedasuri and Maricha.
Still trying to help.
We also learned about this ominous death cough that seems to be rampant in the mine, highlighting the unhealthy and dangerous conditions the slaves are forced to endure. It really underscores the human cost of Devon conquest.
Sorpan's compassion and her willingness to help others, even in captivity, speak volumes about her character and her inherent leadership qualities.
Definitely.
It suggests that even under the most oppressive circumstances, the spirit of resistance and care can endure. What about Harsha's experience in the mine? What form did his resistance take?
Harsha's storyline focuses more directly on acts of rebellion. He attempts to incite the enslaved buffalo using something called Shakti's song.
Shakti's song. Interesting.
And a form of silent communication. It's a fascinating glimpse into a different kind of defiance, one that connects with the natural world and tries to awaken a shared sense of oppression.
Wow.
We also see his interactions with Maragat, a Devon commander, which starkly illustrates the power imbalance and the casual cruelty of the Devas towards their Narakan slaves.
Harsha's subtle attempts to stir rebellion, even through seemingly nonverbal means, demonstrate a deep-seated refusal to be completely broken.
He's fighting back in his own way.
The introduction of Shakti's song as a tool for communication and potential uprising adds a unique cultural or perhaps even magical dimension to their resistance.
Yeah, it's really intriguing.
The excerpts then begin to detail the growing signs
So
of the
happy
larger
to see my
uprising
book at
and the
Odyssey.
formation of more concrete
So happy
escape
and
plans.
excited.
What were the key developments in this burgeoning resistance?
Sorpan and Harsha start to engage in more overt acts of defiance and actively begin to plot their escape, forging connections with others like Viprachit and Sanika.
Building a network inside.
We also hear about the legendary Urnaya Sahasrarika, further highlighting the diverse skills and histories within the underground.
Adding to the lore.
The overall sense is that discontent among the slaves is reaching a boiling point, and a more organized resistance movement is coalescing, with figures like Vakata and Nihantrai emerging as key players. It feels like the stage is being set for a major confrontation.
The mention of Urnaya Sahasrarika not only adds to the legend of the underground, but also builds anticipation for their capabilities and involvement in the coming conflict.
Definitely.
The emergence of a unified resistance, bringing together both the enslaved and the external forces of the underground, sets the scene for a significant clash. And that's precisely where the excerpts lead us, the climactic confrontation at the Devon mine.
Okay, the big finale, or part of it.
Can you walk us through the key events of this uprising?
This sequence is a whirlwind of action and culminates in a hard-fought liberation. It begins with the sounding of the warning gong and Harsha's clever feigned illness as a distraction.
Gramif.
Then the buffalo stampede, orchestrated through Shakti's song, creates widespread chaos and disruption.
Using the environment again.
This is followed by a coordinated assault as the enslaved rise up from within and the forces of the underground arrive as reinforcements, with notable figures like Kum Karn and Vidyu Jiva joining the battle.
The cavalry arrives.
It's a moment where individual acts of defiance coalesce into a larger rebellion.
The use of the buffalo stampede is a particularly ingenious tactic, showcasing Harshaw's understanding of the mine's environment and his connection with the animals.
Totally.
The arrival of the underground forces provides the necessary strength to seriously challenge the heavily armed Devon guards.
Exactly. We see intense and brutal fighting against Devon guards and commanders like Maragat, with the slaves displaying incredible courage, aided by Marich's use of a sling.
Ordinary people fighting back.
Sorpan and Harshaw are at the heart of the struggle, fiercely determined to free the other enslaved Narrakins. But then, a significant new threat appears: Vishwakarma.
A high lord.
Yeah, a powerful Devon High Lord, and the father of Tavashtar. His arrival dramatically raises the stakes.
The arrival of such a high-ranking Devon official signifies that this is no longer just a minor uprising. It has attracted the attention of the highest echelons of Devon society.
Big trouble.
What happens when Vishwakarma confronts the rebels?
It's a tense and dramatic confrontation involving both raw power and displays of magic. Sorpan shows remarkable bravery and even reveals a significant piece of Vishwakarma's past,
Ooh, secrets revealed.
which seems to have a profound impact. Crucially, Tivashtar, Vishwakarma's own son, makes a pivotal and unexpected decision to side with the Narrakins.
Wow, he defects.
Seems like it. This act of defiance from within the Devon ranks is a major turning point in the conflict.
Tivashtar's decision is indeed a game changer. It introduces a layer of moral complexity to the conflict and suggests that there may be dissent and shifting loyalties even within Devon society.
Right. Not all divas are the same.
What is the ultimate outcome of this intense confrontation?
The battle reaches a chaotic climax. The High Lord eventually vanishes, and the remaining Devon forces are defeated,
Vanishes, interesting.
leading to the joyous liberation of the enslaved Narrakins. It's a victory hard won through immense sacrifice and collective effort.
This liberation represents a significant blow to Devon control in this region and a major victory for the burgeoning resistance.
A huge win.
However, the aftermath of the battle reveals that the struggle for freedom is far from over. What were your key takeaways from those final sections of the excerpts?
The immediate aftermath is a mix of elation and profound sorrow. Funeral pyres burn for those who fell.
The cost of victory.
And Ravan, despite playing a crucial role in their liberation, experiences a deep, almost dry-eyed grief, understanding the true cost of their freedom.
Heavy.
There's a powerful sense of unity among the different Narrakan races as they mourn their dead and celebrate their shared liberation.
Unity in grief and freedom.
But then, news of this defeat reaches Indra in Swarga, and his furious reaction signals that this victory will likely have serious repercussions. His misunderstanding of the situation and his plans for retaliation suggest that a much larger conflict is on the horizon.
So it's not over. Not by a long shot.
The overall feeling is that while the power dynamics have shifted in this one instance, the long-term struggle for the Narrakins is just beginning.
The ending certainly leaves us with a sense of foreboding and the anticipation of a wider conflict. Indra's anger and his plans for revenge underscore the fact that this act of rebellion will not go unanswered.
Definitely sets up their story.
The unity displayed by the various Narrakan races in the face of their loss, though, offers a glimmer of hope for a more unified resistance moving forward.
All right, let's bring it all together. This deep dive into the excerpts from the Naraka cycle has given us a vivid picture of a world under brutal occupation, fueled by the courage and resilience of the enslaved Narakans.
Yeah, it's quite a picture.
We've been introduced to compelling characters like Rawan, Sorpan, and Harsha, each playing a vital role in this unfolding rebellion. We've witnessed the sparks of a larger conflict ignited by the underground, and the unifying power of shared oppression across different continents.
Absolutely. The interconnectedness of the individual journeys and struggles within these excerpts is truly remarkable. Rawan's initial discovery inadvertently sets in motion a chain of events that culminates in the mine's liberation, orchestrated by the combined efforts of Sorpan, Harsha, and the underground. It beautifully illustrates how seemingly disparate actions can converge to bring about significant change.
So here's something to really chew on. What are the lasting consequences of this successful rebellion? How might the relationship between Naraka and Swarga fundamentally shift now that the Devas have suffered a significant defeat?
Good question.
And what role will the diverse Narakan races, now united in their liberation, play in shaping their own future after generations of oppression? These excerpts offer a powerful glimpse into a world on the cusp of a major upheaval.
Those are incredibly important questions that extend far beyond the immediate events we've explored today. Delving into the full Naraka cycle might provide further insights into these evolving dynamics and the fates of these fascinating characters.
A huge thank you to our listener for sharing these captivating excerpts and for joining us on this deep dive. If you have any sources that have piqued your curiosity, please don't hesitate to send them our way.
Yeah, we'd love to know this.
We love unraveling these complex narratives with you.
Until our next deep dive, keep exploring the stories around you and keep asking those crucial questions.
So long for now.